But first, after weeks in quarantine, dozens of evacuees packed their bags and said goodbye to Nebraska.
This is KMTV 3 News Now, live at 6.
57 smiling faces said their final goodbyes to each other and their team of doctors before boarding planes for home after a 2-week quarantine at Camp Ashland. They captioned this group photo, "Last day, no masks." It's been a long 14 days for that group that had been in quarantine since arriving back in the U.S. from China. Good evening, I'm Jennifer Griswold. This morning, they all got their final clear health check and were on their way home. Reporter Phil Bergman has more on an emotional day for those quarantined.
14 days ago, 57 people arrived in Omaha for quarantine. Today, all 57 are going back healthy to their communities.
These people pose no health threat. These Americans have done their duty 14 days, and they're getting to go back to their families.
The quarantine guests had a final temperature and health check this morning. Everyone screened healthy.
People took off their masks after their final health check, and it went from quarantine to selfies and high fives and hugs.
The 57 people were leaving Camp Ashland throughout the day. Over at Epley Airfield, we spotted some heading to their gate.
We're away from home for 2 weeks. We'd be ready to be back. And they've said to me they're ready to be in their own kitchen so they can cook their own food, and they're ready to be around their family and friends that they've missed.
Some may worry the CDC is letting sick people back out into the public. Dr. Kosowski with the CDC says an average incubation period is 5 to 6 days. The 14-day period is 2 incubation periods longer than the benchmark.
Though I would have absolutely no reservation putting my family in any of these rooms right now.
The quarantine group was responsible for paying for their own flights out. Joe Smith with the CDC said none of the quarantined people were from Iowa or Nebraska.
All 57 passengers are staying here in the U.S., and they are staying literally from Seattle all the way to New York and all points in between.
Reporting in Omaha, Phil Bergman, 3 News Now.
The CDC said they're sanitizing the rooms at Camp Ashland in accordance with federal guidelines. UNMC crews will run UV lights through to be extra cautious. We asked the CDC about the condition of the 14 passengers who came over from the cruise ship in Japan. Their spokesperson said after all the quarantine guests leave, they would pivot to focus their attention on those passengers.